Minus 25 degrees. No boots, one rifle, 300 Chinese soldiers. November 28, 1950. Chosin Reservoir, North Korea. Private First Class. Hector Cafferata woke up to an entire enemy regiment overrunning his position. For the next 5 hours, he fought them off, in his socks, with his bare hands, throwing grenades back at the enemy faster than they could throw them at him. This is his story. Everything you're about to hear comes from official military records, Medal of Honor documentation, and verified historical accounts. No embellishment, just what actually happened. Hector Albert Cafferata Jr. was born on November 4, 1929 in New York City. His family moved to Boonton, New Jersey when he was young. His father worked in construction. Hector was a big kid, 6'3", over 200 pounds, an athlete. He played football in high school. After graduation, he worked construction with his father. But in 1948, at age 19, he enlisted in the United States Marine Corps. He completed boot camp at Parris Island, then received infantry training at Camp Lejeune. By 1950, he was a private first class assigned to Fox Company, 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines, 1st Marine Division. In September 1950, his unit shipped out to Korea. The Korean War had started in June of that year when North Korean forces invaded South Korea. By September, United Nations forces, led by the United States, had pushed the North Koreans back across the 38th parallel. The plan was to drive north, all the way to the Chinese border, and reunify Korea. But intelligence reports were missing something critical. China was preparing to enter the war. In November 1950, the 1st Marine Division was ordered north toward the Chosin Reservoir, a massive frozen lake in the mountainous interior of North Korea. The temperatures were already dropping below zero. The Marines weren't equipped for it. They had summer weight uniforms, leather boots that froze solid, and rations that turned to ice. On November 27th, Fox Company was ordered to hold a critical mountain pass near a small village called Toktong Pass. This position overlooked the only road connecting isolated Marine units to the south. That night, the temperature dropped to 25 degrees below zero. The wind made it feel even colder. Private First Class Cafferata was assigned to a two-man foxhole on the perimeter with another Marine, Private Kenneth Benson. They dug in as best they could. The ground was frozen solid. Pickaxes barely made a dent. Around 2:30 a.m. on November 28th, Cafferata was asleep in his sleeping bag when Benson shook him awake. Chinese soldiers were everywhere. According to the Medal of Honor citation, Chinese forces launched a massive assault on Fox Company's position. The citation states, when all the other members of his fire team became casualties, leaving it up to him to hold the gap, Private First Class Cafferata continued fighting, alternately throwing hand grenades and firing his rifle. The Chinese had infiltrated so close that grenades were landing in and around his foxhole. Cafferata made a decision that saved his life and the lives of the Marines around him. According to Marine Corps historical records, Cafferata began catching enemy grenades and throwing them back. Not one, not two, over and over again, for hours. Chinese grenades had a longer fuse than American grenades, a few extra seconds. Cafferata would see one land, grab it, and hurl it back before it detonated. Sometimes they exploded in midair after he threw them. Sometimes they exploded among the attacking Chinese soldiers. He did this repeatedly throughout the night, but he couldn't catch them all. One grenade landed near Private Benson. According to the citation, when an enemy grenade landed in his foxhole, he shoved his companion to the bottom and, lying on top of him, was wounded in the back from the explosion. Shrapnel tore into Cafferata's back and shoulder. He ignored it and kept fighting. The citation continues. Although suffering intense pain from his wound, he staunchly refused to be evacuated and fearlessly continued to repel the enemy. Wounded, freezing, in his socks, he kept throwing grenades and firing his M1 rifle. According to historical accounts, at one point Cafferata's rifle froze. The moisture from his breath and the extreme cold caused the firing mechanism to lock up. He grabbed a Chinese rifle from a dead soldier and kept fighting with that. The battle lasted through the night and into the morning. Wave after wave of Chinese soldiers attacked the position. According to Marine Corps records, Fox Company was outnumbered by at least 10-1. Some estimates put the attacking Chinese force at over 3,000 men. Cafferata's section of the perimeter held. As dawn broke on November 28th, the Chinese assault began to falter. American air support arrived. Marine artillery opened fire. The Chinese retreated, leaving hundreds of casualties in front of Fox Company's lines. According to the Citation, when the position was finally secure, Private First Class Cafferata was discovered unconscious from his wounds, hypothermia, and exhaustion. He was evacuated to the battalion aid station. Medical personnel counted the casualties around his foxhole. Over 100 Chinese soldiers lay dead in front of his position. But Fox Company's fight wasn't over. For the next 5 days, they held Toktong Pass against repeated Chinese attacks. Of the approximately 240 Marines who started the battle, fewer than half walked out. Fox Company's stand at Toktong Pass became one of the most legendary defensive actions in Marine Corps history. And Hector Cafferata's actions on that first night were a major reason the position held. The final paragraph of Cafferata's Medal of Honor citation reads, "Private First Class Cafferata's heroic stand, superb initiative, and resolute determination in the face of overwhelming odds reflect the highest credit upon himself and enhance and sustain the finest traditions of the United States Naval Service." On November 24, 1952, President Harry Truman awarded Hector Cafferata the Medal of Honor at the White House. He was 22 years old. After receiving the Medal of Honor, Cafferata was medically retired from the Marine Corps due to his injuries. He returned to New Jersey. He married, raised 3 daughters, worked as a salesman. He rarely talked about Chosin. When people asked about the Medal of Honor, he would say he was just doing his job. According to later interviews, he struggled with survivor's guilt. So many of his friends didn't make it home from Toktong Pass. He became active in veterans organizations. He attended Chosin Reservoir reunions. He stayed connected to the Marines who'd been there. In 1999, Cafferata attended the dedication of the Chosin Few Monument in San Diego. In interviews, he was asked about that night in 1950. He said he didn't remember much of it. The cold, the exhaustion, the adrenaline. He remembered throwing grenades. He remembered the rifle freezing. He remembered Benson getting hurt, but he didn't feel like a hero. He said the real heroes were the ones who didn't come home. Hector Cafferata died on April 12, 2016, at the age of 86. He's buried in New Jersey. His grave marker includes his name, his service dates, and the Medal of Honor notation. Not because he was famous, not because his name was widely known outside military circles, but because what he did on November 28, 1950, matters. There are certain things we can verify about that battle. We know Private First Class Cafferata was in a 2-man foxhole when Chinese forces attacked Fox Company's position. We know he threw enemy grenades back repeatedly throughout the night. We know he shielded his fellow Marine from a grenade blast and was wounded. We know he refused evacuation and continued fighting despite his injuries. We know he fought in extreme cold, in his socks, for over 5 hours. We know his actions helped hold a critical mountain pass that saved thousands of Marines. We know he received the Medal of Honor for those actions. What we don't know is how he kept going. Wounded, frozen, exhausted, fighting an enemy that outnumbered him by hundreds to 1. The official records don't tell us what made him refuse to quit. They just tell us what he did. And sometimes, that's enough. The Medal of Honor citation uses the phrase heroic stand and resolute determination. But those words don't capture the reality. For 5 hours in the dark, in temperatures that would kill an exposed man in minutes, Hector Cafferata was the wall between his fellow Marines and annihilation. When grenades came, he threw them back. When his rifle froze, he took one from the enemy. When he was wounded, he kept fighting. And when the sun came up, he was still there. The historical record shows us something important about endurance. Courage isn't always a single moment of decision. Sometimes it's 5 hours of refusing to stop. Sometimes it's throwing one more grenade when your body is screaming to quit. Sometimes it's standing in a frozen foxhole in your socks because the Marines next to you need you to. Fox Company held Toktong Pass for 5 days. Hector Cafferata fought for 5 hours on the first night. Those 5 hours gave Fox Company time to organize, to reinforce, to survive. Without his stand, the pass likely falls on the first night. Without the pass, thousands of Marines don't make it out of Chosin. 1 Marine, 1 foxhole, 5 hours. That's what changed everything. The Chosin Reservoir campaign resulted in over 17,000 United Nations casualties. Nearly 5,000 Americans were killed or missing. The 1st Marine Division fought their way out through 7 Chinese divisions. They called it advancing in a different direction. Hector Cafferata was one of the reasons they made it. Stories like this are in the historical record, but they don't get told nearly enough. We focus on the strategic withdrawal from Chosin, the frozen Chosin conditions, the larger campaign. But the Medal of Honor database is full of names most people have never heard. Men who held positions that shouldn't have held, who fought through conditions that should have killed them, who refused to quit when quitting made perfect sense. Hector Cafferata's name is in that database. November 28, 1950. Toktong Pass, North Korea. -25 degrees. Threw enemy grenades back for 5 hours in his socks. Shielded fellow Marine from blast. Refused evacuation despite wounds. Helped hold critical pass that saved thousands. Those are the facts. If you want to hear another story like this, there's one from Vietnam that defies belief. May 1968. Master Sergeant Roy Benavides. He was shot, bayoneted, hit with shrapnel. For 6 hours, he fought to save a surrounded reconnaissance team. They put him in a body bag twice because they thought he was dead. Both times, he proved them wrong. The second time by spitting in the doctor's face. That story is next.